There are moments in life when we feel that it could have a greater meaning, but we don't know where to start. The sense that God has something grand planned for us might seem distant, leaving us confused and sometimes discouraged. Today, I want to share something profound and transformative with you. Together, we'll explore how a few simple yet powerful attitudes can not only attract God's blessings, but also turn you into a channel of blessings for those around you. Think about the impact of living with a heart aligned to God's will. Imagine being used to spread His love, peace, and kindness to your family, your community, and even your workplace. This video is an invitation for you to discover how small steps of faith can lead to significant changes. You might be wondering, is this really possible for me? Can God use me like that? The answer lies in the scriptures, in the testimonies of ordinary people, and in practical examples we will explore together. In this video, we'll dive into the story of Joseph, a man who faced challenging circumstances, but with the right attitudes, not only received God's blessings, but also became a source of life for others. I'll also share a modern-day story of someone like you who decided to act in faith and saw their life and the lives of others transformed. Finally, I'll share 5 practical attitudes you can start applying today to align your life with God's purpose. Get ready, because today's message has the power to bring clarity, renew your hope, and guide you to the center of God's will. Among the many inspiring stories in the Bible, Joseph's life is an extraordinary example of how God can use someone to bless others, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Joseph was Jacob's favorite son, which stirred jealousy and hatred among his brothers. They betrayed him, selling him as a slave and lying to their father, saying that Joseph had died. Imagine the pain of being betrayed by your own family, the feeling of abandonment, and the weight of the unknown in a foreign land. But Joseph never strayed from God's purpose. Even as a slave in Potiphar's house, he maintained his integrity, serving with faithfulness and dedication. His exemplary attitude earned Potiphar's complete trust, putting the entire administration of his household in Joseph's hands. However, Joseph faced yet another injustice. He was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife and thrown into prison. At that point, many would have given up, but Joseph continued to trust in God. Even in prison, he stood out for his honesty and willingness to help others, earning the trust of the prison warden and even interpreting dreams that would later change his life. Joseph's time seemed lost, but God was working behind the scenes. Years later, his interpretation of Pharaoh's dream led him to become the governor of Egypt, responsible for saving the nation and its neighbors from famine. More than that, Joseph became the instrument God used to reconcile his family, bringing healing and restoration. This story teaches us that even when everything seems hopeless, God can turn difficult situations into opportunities to show His grace. Every stage of Joseph's life was marked by attitudes that attracted God's blessings: obedience, perseverance, integrity, and faith. These same attitudes are within reach for all of us. The stories in the Bible are full of examples of how God uses ordinary people to accomplish great things. And this continues to happen today. Anna was a simple woman, living what seemed like an ordinary routine, yet she couldn't ignore the pain and need around her. One day, while walking through a square, she saw people living on the streets and felt a strong desire to do something. Even if it was small, she started with what she had. She prepared 2 meals in her own home and took them to those people. At first, Anna thought her contribution was too small to make an impact, but she realized that something bigger was happening. Every smile she received, Every conversation she had seemed to fill not only the physical hunger of those people, but also the hunger for purpose within her. Over time, others noticed what Anna was doing. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers offered to help. A simple act of compassion turned into a movement that now feeds hundreds of people weekly. And more than that, it shares hope and love with those who need it most. Anna's story reminds us that we don't need grand resources or high positions to be used by God. All He asks for is a willing heart and attitudes that reflect His love. Just like Anna, we often underestimate the power of small acts of kindness. But when we dedicate our efforts to God, He multiplies them in ways we can't even imagine. You too can be an agent of transformation, right where you are. It might not be through meals, but perhaps through a word of encouragement, a gesture of generosity, or a practical action that blesses someone. Regardless of the scale, the impact you can have by allowing God to work through you is always significant. God uses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. He did it with Anna, and He can do the same with you. The attitudes God values can transform your life. The first essential attitude is obedience. God doesn't demand perfection, but He seeks hearts willing to follow His will. Joseph is a clear example of this. Even without fully understanding God's purpose amidst betrayal and imprisonment, he remained faithful. Obedience is the foundation of a deep relationship with God because it demonstrates trust in His plans, even when we can't see them clearly. Practical application. You can start with simple steps, like dedicating a daily moment to reading the Bible and praying, asking God to reveal His direction. Small acts of obedience, like forgiving someone or offering help to someone in need, can open pathways for God's work in your life. Gratitude is another powerful attitude that transforms how we see life. Joseph, even amidst adversity, trusted God and continued to live with a grateful heart. Being grateful doesn't mean ignoring challenges, but choosing to focus on blessings and God's care. This attitude changes our hearts and prepares us to receive even more of what God wants to give us. Practical application. One way to cultivate gratitude is to start a journal. Write down at least 3 things you're grateful for each day. This will help you notice God's presence in the details of your day. Generosity is one of the clearest ways to express God's love. Joseph, upon becoming governor, could have used his position solely for his own benefit, but he chose to act with compassion, saving not only Egypt but also his own family. God delights when we are generous with our time, resources, and gifts. He multiplies everything we offer with a sincere heart. Practical application. Set aside a portion of your budget, no matter how small, to help someone. It could be a simple gesture, like buying coffee for someone or contributing to a social cause. These actions reflect the character of Christ in you. Another attitude is perseverance, staying firm even when circumstances seem unfavorable. Joseph spent years waiting for God's promises to be fulfilled, but he didn't give up. He continued trusting and doing what was right, even when it seemed no one noticed. Perseverance is essential to achieving God's plans because often the greatest miracles happen when we refuse to give up. Practical application. When you feel like giving up on something God has placed in your heart, remember Joseph. Pray, seek strength in God, and keep going. Take small daily steps of progress, trusting that God's timing is perfect. The final attitude is empathy, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Joseph showed empathy when he treated his brothers, who had betrayed him, with mercy and compassion. He looked beyond their mistakes and chose to act with love. Empathy reflects God's heart because it leads us to love our neighbors as ourselves. When we choose to understand and help those around us, we allow God's love to manifest. Practical application. Call someone going through a difficult time. Offer your help, listen without judgment, and pray for them. Small acts of empathy can have a tremendous impact. These 5 attitudes are powerful because they align you with God's heart. Obedience, gratitude, generosity, perseverance, and empathy are pathways to attract divine blessings and bless others. When you choose to live this way, God transforms your life and those around you. Throughout this video, we've seen how attitudes aligned with God's heart can not only transform our lives, but also deeply impact the world around us. We've learned from Joseph's story that even in the midst of great adversity, God honors those who choose to trust and obey. We also saw through Anna's example how small gestures can multiply into something far greater than we imagine. Now, think about your own life. Perhaps you're facing challenges like Joseph, moments of injustice, betrayal, or waiting. Or maybe you feel like Anna, with a sincere desire to help, but unsure where to start. No matter where you are today, the attitudes we've shared, obedience, gratitude, generosity, perseverance, and empathy, can be the key to unlocking what God has planned for you. Remember, God doesn't seek perfection, but a willing heart. When you offer your efforts to Him, no matter how small they may seem, He uses them to accomplish something far greater. Each attitude you adopt in faith and love is like a seed planted, which God will grow in His perfect timing. What can you do today? Which of these 5 attitudes do you feel you need to practice more often? Start small. An act of obedience, a word of gratitude, a gesture of generosity, a choice to persevere, or a moment of empathy could be the beginning of something extraordinary. God wants to use you as a channel of blessings. He wants you to experience the joy of living for a greater purpose, aligned with His will. Just like Joseph and Anna, you can see your life transform as you allow God to guide your choices and actions. The decision is yours. Starting today, you can say, "Yes, Lord, I am here. Use me for your glory and to bless others' lives." Leave your mark on this world by living with purpose, faith, and love. And remember, God is with you every step of the way.